Last month, 280 teams from across 16 countries sent their best mechanical athletes to China to compete in the World Humanoid Robot Games, or the Robot Olympics. There were the Olympic staples of boxing, gymnastics, soccer, but also some dance-offs and household tasks like sorting and cleaning. The games were meant to showcase how far robots have come, but they also provide a window into the future, replacing metal games with war games. Let's dive into this world with Mike LeBlanc, co-founder of Foundation Future Industries, which is developing its own humanoid robot. Welcome to the show. So when people hear humanoid robots, they think of either sci-fi movies or those big demonstrations. From your perspective, where does this field actually stand right now?
Well, I think that's what people would be really surprised to hear is that to me, 5 years ago, I think these were something of science fiction and something that you saw in the movies. But today, these are humanoids that are working and getting better week over week. So we already have robots to work. There are already robots on manufacturing lines that are actually replacing people. This is technology of today, and I think people are going to be shocked at just how quickly it comes to market.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they had a whole Olympics for it, that's already shocking enough. But what business models do you see as most sustainable for humanoid robots selling units right now, leasing or service-based models?
Well, I think there are a lot of people that are building these robots for the home. I think that's incredibly tough because there are so many tasks in the home. I also think that it's very creepy to have a robot. I've got 3 little kids there. I wouldn't really want to throw a humanoid in with them just yet. But I think that a lot of auto manufacturing jobs, warehousing jobs, things like that, you're really seeing a lot of pick and place tasks that human beings weren't really designed to do. They've just been the last thing that we haven't been able to automate, and humanoids make a perfect addition to those lines.
Let me tell you what, I reorganized the kitchen drawers yesterday. I would have loved to have a humanoid as an assistant, but yeah, you're right, pretty weird with the kids around. But your company is actually going all in on connecting humanoid robots in a military capacity. Why is that?
Well, I was a Marine for over 10 years, and I think defense has just always been in our DNA. We really see this, although we see the fun robots going and playing soccer in the Olympics in Beijing, we also saw them at the Victory Day Parade, where they were showing them as tools of war. And I think that anything that our adversaries are going to come up with is really something that we need to be ready to counter as well.
And it's always a competition, right? Think about the moon landing, how competitive that was. So how do other nations stack up in mobilizing robotic troops?
This is really broken down to America and China right now. I think there's a lot of danger, though, that these humanoids can go anywhere. And so you can start to see them coming in from any country. And just as we've seen the sky get filled up with drones, I think that you're going to see the battlefield filled up with humanoids.
But if a humanoid robot actually makes any sort of mistake or causes harm, in that instance, who should or would or could be held accountable? You're talking the manufacturer, the software developer, or the operator. How would that be?
Well, I think the infrastructure would be a lot like drones. So when I was stationed in the Middle East for one of my tours, I was involved in all of the drones that would drop bombs in Iraq against ISIS. And I was one of more than 10 approvers that had to go and review that there wouldn't be any civilian casualties, that we actually thought we had good evidence the person was there, et cetera, before we would sign off on any bomb. And so, people very, very realistically get fired over this. People know that when they put their name on that bomb drop or on whatever that action is, that could have huge ramifications for their career. So I think that'll be the same for humanoids.
And when you talk about the link between humanoids and drones, there are a lot of drone regulations. So do you believe the industry should adopt let's say a formal code of ethics before the humanoids robots are widely deployed?
Well, I think what's the old saying? America innovates, Europe regulates, and China imitates. So I'm sure that we'll be seeing that as we go over to the EU, and I think that we're even starting to see that in some of the plants that we're going to there. But those will come with time, I imagine.
So let's look ahead here. How do we make sure that the humanoid robots are used to enhance human life rather than to undermine trust, safety, or even opportunity? A lot of people talk about, AI taking away jobs, robots taking away jobs. That used to be just a conversation as it related to robots, but now it could actually be a real thing. So how do we actually make sure that they, kind of coexist?
Well, I think that robots are really going to create jobs. And the best example that you can see is the ATM. So when you got the ATM cash machine at banks, people thought that was going to put bank tellers out of business. But what actually happened was banks were able to open many more branches, and they hired, 10x, 100x the tellers that they ever had before the ATM. And that's really what we're going to see with this, next industrial revolution is we're going to see more of a building of the middle class and less reliance on needing to look to countries like China or countries throughout Asia to subsidize all the materials that we get in America.
All right, we all grew up watching the Jetsons. We never thought that we'd see the day, but more and more, here we are, Mike LeBlanc.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for being with us.